Hey folks, this is Vincent Ali with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to quickly check out Talisman Digital 5th Edition. It's important to stress that what you're looking at here is a preview build of the game, so everything that you're about to see is most definitely subject to change. That being said, the game is due out on November 14th, so if you like what you see here, definitely check the game out. So there is another Talisman Digital Edition on Steam. This one was released back in 2014. Currently, it is free to play, but has a crap ton of DLC. Right now, everything's on sale, and you can get everything for $81.90. I can't imagine. The list goes on with with regards to how much DLC there is here. So I can only imagine how much that actually is if you were to spend your money on all 50 of this DLC. But anyway, what is Talisman to begin with? Well, it is a digital board game where you roll dice, you move characters around a board, and you're trying to fight enemies, complete events, and roll well in order to improve the stats on your character. Speaking of character, you can choose between, I think there were in the original 2014 game, we're talking 30 plus characters. That's with the DLC characters included. In this 5th edition, it's going to start you off again with the core characters, so maybe like 10, 12, something like that. And then over time, the developers, Nomad Games, will be releasing the expansion packs that were available for the 2014 game. And from what I'm told, if you owned the DLCs for the 2014 version, you'll get them for free with this version. Okay. So you won't have to rebuy them again if you already own them on the 2014 version. But they are not implemented in the 5th edition yet. So, with that being said, Idly and I had a chance to play around with this a little bit. I took some time and played against the bot, and then I went ahead with a session with her as well. And I didn't really see a whole lot of difference between this version and the previous version, except for the flashy graphics. The art style and the graphics are a lot better. You can actually zoom in on your character before moving. It's just graphical. But ideally, what you're doing in this game is you're rolling a die, you're moving your character either left or right, depending on which way you're going. You can choose which direction. Pick the space that's better for you, and then you move there, and then you resolve whatever the space is. And typically, it's a battle of some kind or an event, but ultimately, you're trying to complete the scenario goal. In the core 5th edition game, there's some kind of elder dragon that you'll be fighting, and you'll have to, I guess, defeat it. I don't know the full thing behind that because I didn't play it to its entirety, and I haven't played the 2014 edition in 10 years. It's been a while. So Idly and I kind of just stopped midway because the game was just going on so long and we weren't really enjoying the experience. So and real quick, when we went to see if we could reload to see if we can come back to it later, it turns out no, you can't come back to it later. Well, you can, but you have to play against a bot. The invite button is broken. So unfortunately, you can't re-invite your friends to resume your game. You can only resume the game with a bot, which again, this is a revised 5th edition, so you'd think they would have fixed that ahead of time. And another thing they could have fixed with this revised 5th edition, remastered, whatever you want to call it, there's a way to spend something called fate in this game to re-roll dice. And the button that tells you re-roll die, it doesn't warn you that you're going to spend that fate. Now, experienced players will know this, but new players will not. Or returning players that don't remember the game's rules will not. So I think, again, if you're going to remake a game, make it so that it's more intuitive for what you're clicking on and what's going on. So yeah, there's, it says, one of the buttons says spend a fate to move 6 spaces. But right below that, it says re-roll a die. But there's no fate symbol. So when I clicked on reroll a die, I spent a fate and I didn't realize I was going to do that. There was no warning. So it's just little things like that. If you're going to remake a game, make sure it's fixed, better than the previous version. That's what I'm saying here. I kind of spoke a lot here. Idly, what were your thoughts on this? Now, there's 2 sides to this. There's the Talisman board game itself and its mechanics. And then there's the digital aspect to this game as well. Is it put together well? Can you comment on either one of those things?
Well, I'll comment on the one that I was playing right now.
Okay.
I actually enjoy the game. I enjoy the look of it. I enjoy the smoothness of it. However, there's little gripes that I have with it where, like you said earlier, there's not enough tooltips that are on screen. For example, um, I went to the graveyard as what I thought was a neutral player, but apparently I was good because the color schemes didn't uh, match. Green is usually good, but apparently it's neutral in the game. And it probably a lot of these little, very little things that can make a game very frustrating are in the tutorials. So that is kind of my bad. The interactive tutorials are amazing and they give a lot of information, but I just kind of wanted a quick game with you, and I
Hmm.
jumped in, figured that it was very similar to the first one or to the one that I had originally. I don't know which edition that was, but it's the one that I had originally.
Hmm.
And it was a little different because of these little tiny things that kind of made the game frustrating. But the big takeaway is the graphics. The game is very beautiful. Like the background is beautiful, the close-ups are beautiful, the animations are smooth. Um, but it was okay. It's not my type of game. It's very take thatty. Um, it's very sweaty. It's a very sweaty competitive game.
I even took the time to go through the deck. There was a deck builder that you saw earlier in the video where you could actually choose what cards you want in the deck. I took out all of the events, like it took me a while, and that process is not at all easy. You had to scroll through the cards and click the up arrow to add them to the deck. And there's no way to see easily what cards have been added. Like if you've played customizable card games like Hearthstone or other ones where you're adding cards to a deck, typically there's like one side is like all your cards that are currently added, and then the other side is the library that you can add to that right side or whatever. Not the case with this deck builder. It's just you have to scroll through each card, scroll through hundreds of cards, and click the up arrow to add multiple copies to it, and that's it. But you can't actually see what's in your deck while you're doing that. So like
Yeah.
that whole process is kind of weird. And getting back to that whole color thing, I was fooled by it as well. I've played Talisman before, but I forgot. And you would think green good, red bad, yellow is kind of an in between color, so that would be neutral, right? No, not the
Mhm.
case. Yellow is good in this game, green is neutral, and red is bad. And like in my head, everything I know about traffic lights don't it doesn't compute with me. I'm just saying like green good, red bad. That's the standard color scheme. Whether or not that's a failing with the Talisman game itself or the digital, I was hoping maybe the developers could like add an options menu toggle where, fix the color scheme so it makes more sense. Or do you want to stick with the original rule set? That kind of thing. So that doesn't make sense to me with that regard. Um, so personally, I feel like, I mean, Talisman is okay, but it is extremely RNG heavy, like extremely. There were battles. I picked the warrior, and each character, by the way, has something unique about them, which is kind of cool. They each have a different ability. But my warrior can roll 2 dice in combat when doing strength battles, and then pick the die that's higher. And I was typically doing very well on that. She was a troll, and she had high strength as well, but at the same time, she kept rolling ones and twos. And the way combat works is you take your default strength, then you roll a die, and whatever that value is, you add it to your strength. And your opponent does the exact same thing, and you compare. And whoever has the higher value wins. And Idly was rolling low on all of her rolls, and she just kept losing life after life after life. And it's just bad RNG. So this is more of a failing with the core digital or the core board game. Like the designers behind this, I don't think they could have done much except for maybe add some option toggle or game rules toggle to where, maybe there's a handicap that you can add to dice rolling to make it less bad. So maybe on all rolls add a +1, or make the RNG roll so that maybe 70% of the time it rolls a 4 or above, so that you're getting better rolls in combat, something like that.
Some sort of like modifiable thing, like
Right,
a
some
+1, +2 thing.
right.
I know that when it said on the very last tutorial, which was all the new things that they added in this edition, compared to the previous edition. I
Mm-hmm.
know that when you lose a combat, it's said that you gain a fate.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really see that all that much, but then again, we did encounter a couple bugs, I guess. I don't know, maybe a couple bugs
It could have
with
been
the whole
bugs. It could
crash
be
thing.
rules issues too. Oh yeah, you had that crash thing. She was
Mhm,
trying to resume. Getting back to that other example, we were trying to. We quit the game like I want to say 30 minutes in,
mhm,
and both of us tried to resume that playthrough to see if we could. And like I said, I saw the game in my resume game section. There's an online games tab and a resume game. I went to resume the game, and then I saw that troll. It says online AI player, but I couldn't invite her to
mhm,
the game. So like that's an issue. So that means that you have to stick this game out with your friends for 2-3 hours, however long it takes. And this game is not a short one. You could spend hours rolling your character around this board, getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And due to bad card draws from the deck, your characters could be put behind to a point where you have to spend a lot of time catching up. So I like this game to some degree, but I really don't like the RNG aspect. And that's a core thing. I really don't like that the developers haven't added some quality of life things like the whole roll die thing. You should add a little fate symbol there or a notification saying, do you really want to spend a fate to do this? And make that a toggle in the options menu. Speaking of
mhm.
modifiers, add some modifiers in the options menu for or on a rule screen to make the dice rolls less punishing. These are things that I think should be included with a newer edition of something. If you're going to remake a game, make sure it's better than the previous one in various ways, and I think Nomad Games could stand to do that more. And that's just my opinion. Anything else to say before we call this video quits?
No, I think you hit everything on the head.
Okay, sounds good. Well, there you
Mhm.
go, folks. That was Talisman Digital Edition, again, a 5th edition, I should say. This will be live on November 14th, 2024. So if you're an existing Talisman fan, you may want to check it out. But the DLCs are going to be coming later. This is Vince. Thanks for watching. Catch you all next time. Take care.
Hi, guys.